Hi, folks. With Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio, radio, no pictures live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the federal election in Britain, or general election as they call it, that's due. I think what's in the next several days. I think. Now, just to give you a quick background, the dynamics. There's a new party that's come along, or relatively new at least, or certainly a re-energized party called the Reform Party. And they're questioning mass migration and things like that, questioning the LGBTQ indoctrination in schools and so on. So they're certainly attracting the ire and the anger and the annoyance of the globalist elites. And their popularity of reform is increasing to the point where they could win a decent amount of electoral districts in the new parliament that'll be formed after the election. So this is causing quite a lot of disquiet in the amongst the power elites, and so they're looking to undermine them, disparage them, mock them, and otherwise deliver the kill shot, the proof that you're Hitler, where's your swastika, that type of thing. And so now what's happened is some guy, I'll just give you the recent drama is somebody who's supposed to be associated with the Reform Party has made alleged racist and homophobic remarks. Now, as soon as you hear about racism, homophobia, misogyny, then those are the talking points that the globalist elite was banging on about. Their way of divide society along gender, race, and sexuality. That is always their MO. Always their MO. Divide society along those three lines. Now, so whenever they say, "Oh, we found someone that ticks all those boxes," racism and misogyny and then it's a setup. I mean, it's a scripted setup. That from sort of word one. So the balance of probability that's a setup is very, very high just on that analysis alone. So what happens is this is in the British federal election again. Some guy walks into a Reform Party electoral office and volunteers to hand out leaflets and brochures and this sort of you're just handing out. You're not a policymaker. You're not standing for office. You're nothing. You're just handing out brochures. And so this guy walks in. They haven't seen him before. He isn't known. No one's spoken to him. He's just a volunteer to hand out brochures. A low-level job, something that anybody can do, and people are coming in all the time to offer to do that. And sometimes these people, I've seen this sort of thing before in Australia. Sometimes the people will grab a handful of brochures, sort of stand in like a shopping centre type area or high traffic, foot traffic area, and just hand them out. When they're done, they just go home because that's the end of it. Others are a bit more dedicated. Maybe they come back the next day and help again. Typically, these are people who are giving somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour of their time to just hand out these leaflets and brochures. So a guy walks in and offers to hand the brochure. Now, it turns out this guy who's just sort of appeared out of nowhere, he is being followed by, just coincidentally, what an incredible coincidence, he's being followed by a supposed undercover team of journalists from a national news network, a national news network that is always trying to attack and harass this particular political party and its leader. They are 24/7 dedicated to tearing these guys down or trying to. And so it's very suspicious. So now we're looking at the globalist talking points of hustling along race, gender, and sexuality lines. This is sort of, they're right up there with that. Some guy who turns out to be an actor. He's not even a genuine I'll hand out the leaflets sort of type of guy. He's not far from being your typical volunteer. Far from it. He's an actor and he's available for hire. And he comes in and says, "I'll do and he's being followed by a national news network and perfectly and on cue, in a very short time, he's handing out the brochures. He delivers on all the things. He comes out with the misogyny. He comes out with the racism, the patriarchy. He comes out with the sexuality, perfectly scripted, word for word. And so they go, there, see, look, Hitler. And so you just know it's just all too perfect. Now, the money trail needs to be done a little bit carefully. So the news network, who's obviously coordinating with this guy, the news network can't be seen to be paying him or rewarding him or giving him something or anything like that. So the way it works is you've got a little sort of cabal of NGO activist groups, the media, because this particular news station is so far in bed with the activist NGOs that it's not funny. So the guy is grabbed this actor. He's got by the NGO or one or more NGO, and they pay him. He goes down and does, for example, I don't know if this exactly happened, but this is the highest probability. Gets paid by a third party, that put it that way, and that would be an activist NGO, and again with very, very high levels of probability. So he goes along, paid by the NGO, turn up here, go there at this time. We'll have the news station, the news reporters and the cameras ready. So go here, say this, do that, then stand here and then say this. This is your script to say, and then we'll record that and we'll have it out into the national media by that afternoon or by the evening news. Because you want maximum impact, so you want the evening news when you get the most eyeballs. So the whole thing is, in my view at least, a blatant setup and done to embarrass and otherwise harass a genuine political party. Now, I would classify that as election interference, and if the state, the government was genuine about supposedly stamping out hate, they'd arrest this guy, and there would be a thorough investigation as to how he came to be there and say those things right on cue, so a national media outlet could record it. I just wanted to make this more widely, though. The use of, in terms of controversial issues, now the use of actors to either further a cause or stymie a cause you want to try and stop, I've noticed is quite widespread and something that's used quite casually now by the major political parties, the NGOs, and the media. They're more than accepting of it. Again, this thing where the demand for racism or acts of racism vastly outstrips the supply. So given that it doesn't happen, but they're constantly going on about it, that we're surrounded by racist, evil Nazi Hitlers. In fact, they're constantly going on about it, but there's no evidence of it. There are no events of it. They have to invent it. They have to set them up. They have to create these issues, and they do, so they need actors and they need scripts, they need setups, and they need the timing, and they need all these sort of things to be set up. So they've got that gotcha type coverage, and now some of it misfires, like the actor Jussie Smollett in the United States. So in Chicago, he claims that Donald Trump supporters tried to, I think, put a noose around his neck and hang him or something. And that all fell to pieces. That didn't work. But in Australia, I'll talk about just a few things. There was a situation where a news outlet that's hugely committed to pushing global warming and climate change, they're absolutely invested in it. And so they wanted to do a number of pieces of how terrified children are of the planet's coming to an end. This is when Greta Thunberg was doing the rounds as well. So you can see it's an internationally coordinated media effort here. So they wanted to have young children, particularly young girls. Young girls are by far and away the preferred option here. Young girls in a state of presented as being in an absolute state of terror over the climate change and the planet's going to end tomorrow and this sort of thing. And why aren't you evil politician Nazis not doing enough? That type of thing. So anyway, there's a scene that's again just too perfect. that ticks all the boxes. That where there's a girl, a youngish girl, 13, 14, something like that. And she talks about, oh, the world's coming to an end and I'm so scared. And she starts to cry. And then she's got two girlfriends, one either side of her, and they move in to console. Oh, it's all right, Shaniqua or whatever. I mean, she's a white girl, and this is recorded. This is caught. Just that this news outlet that happens to be hugely invested in climate change just happens to find a young girl that bawls her eyes out while her two friends console because she's frightened about climate change. Again, too perfect, just too perfect. And so, but what you just do a little bit of digging and not too much. That young girl who did the crying and, oh, the world's coming to an end and why won't the politicians do more? That she was a child actress and that was a script that prepared for her by an activist climate change NGO. The other two girls were also actors. And so the whole thing was staged. It was completely staged by a bunch of child actors just so that this activist media outlet could get their little footage, their piece of footage, which they thought was going to have hard-hitting effect and so on. Now, there's another one. Was a big conference about men that are being killed by their wives. There was and politicians are doing a bit of a roadshow thing on it, and it was quite this is going back a few years. It was quite a big issue at the time in this local area, but the politicians didn't really want to have to deal with it. So what did they do? There was quite a crowd turned up. I don't know, a few hundred. There's quite a crowd turned up. So what they did was they hired a whole bunch of actors to come in and scripted them. And these actors came in. Oh, yeah, well, my daughter's being beat to death by her evil fascist Nazi swastika waving husband. What do you guys do? You're talking about this one. What about my daughter? And then a few other people that. So whenever there was a harrowing story about, the mother killing the children or murdering the husband or something like that, whenever a harrowing story was being related, then the actors were paid to come in. Oh, yeah, but what about? And in reality, there was no, these people didn't even exist. And so that they were just actors paid and installed in the crowd to act as a disrupting force and to not allow the harrowing stories about certain issues to go to be dwelt upon, and they were there just to disrupt and divert and so on. So I just wanted to talk about this generally, that inserting actors into situations and certain again, the climate change thing or this thing in England, this is very much the things that political parties and media outlets and NGOs stoop to. Now, another one is an animal rights activist group. They maintain quite a large, they're quite well financed, these guys. They maintain quite a large like freezer room or a cool room where they keep bodies of dead animals that died of natural causes, all different types of dead animals. And so if they're doing some sort of a protest or a march or something out and chaining themselves to trees and these sorts of things, they what they do is they take the frozen body of the animal out of the freezer, thaw it, and then place it in the strategic position. The media then come along, and then there's people around who are crying and boo-hooing about, oh, look at the dead animal. Oh, look what's happened. It's because of the evil fascist Nazis, and we have to do something. And the media dutifully records this and present. So the whole thing's a setup and coordinated propaganda, but again with actors and with thought out. And then they just grab the body of the dead animal, put it back in the freezer, ready to use next time. And they've got a different animal for every different occasion that they pull out, and again thaw the body out and put it there. If any vet or someone tries to grab it for some sort of an autopsy, they won't know. Suddenly at that, the body, the animal body disappears. Oh no, I don't know where it's gone. Must have been taken by a fox or something. So So this sort of setting up and so on is widespread. You know, we need to understand that if the government wants, or not the government, you know, any globalist group, and given that the globalists control all the Western governments, but if any globalist group wants a propaganda sort of extravaganza moment, they'll hire actors, script it, get the NGOs to pay them, and just so they've got their footage, their gotcha type footage. And that's what I believe is happening with this thing in the UK and the Reform Party. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.